Introduction to the Power and Presence course. I want to begin this Power and Presence course with the disturbing proposition that the I-topian nightmare is descending and has come to possess us. I-topia, with an uppercase I-T, is my term for the dystopian future that is emerging, where information technology has permeated all areas of our lives, creating an imbalanced, technocratic society found on what Shoshana Zuboff calls surveillance capitalism. In this system, your attention and life choices are being deliberately directed into spaces that optimize power and profit for big tech corporations and their political and economic allies. I refer to our current virtual space as meme world because it's a reality that comprises not so much of the real, but of threads of memes weaved into a great net. And that is increasingly what we see of the world and how we see it. Or rather, that is how the world is made for us. Meme world is becoming increasingly alien relative to how we once experienced our lives with our critical faculties and bodily intuitive senses. The weaponization of the internet, politics and society is all but complete, and our souls, our deep selves, are being defeated. Our awareness has shifted from the inner wisdom of that deep self to become ensnared in this virtual world, which we now increasingly confuse for reality. I've developed this Power and Presence course to shake you from the grip of I-topia and empower you to rediscover your deep self and build a more meaningful life. It's not that big challenges have not existed for humans who came before us, and it's not as if all our ancestors lived lives that were automatically a genuine expression of their highest good. We all know this is not true. Any reading of history will tell you that in many ways, our ancestors had it far worse. Many lived lives that were typically shorter, more brutal, and more oppressive. Think of almost any idyllic myth. The Little House on the Prairie, the Amazonian female warriors, the noble savage. All are likely just that, myths. Indeed, it's the great progress we've made, in a material sense, riding upon the back of increased prosperity, technological prowess, and information access that has enabled a kind of hegemony to creep into our skulls. We have heralded the rise of what I call the money and machine society, the technocentric utopia with its focus upon material satiation and amused distraction. Over time, we have increasingly lost touch with nature, with our bodies, and with our hearts, our integrated intelligence. Our feet have left the earth and even our city streets as we daily climb into humming cars, planes, and even spacecraft, as our eyes become fixed upon screens stuck to plastic and metal boxes, and then ultimately to small devices clasped in our palms. We forgot about our bodies and our hearts, fell into deep anxiety and dissatisfaction, barely noticing that our daily dose of online drama and projection never used to be normal. Thus, our challenge to embody the deep self faces a very different set of challenges today. Many of us have unconsciously given our power away to narratives and agendas that we did not deliberately choose. The actions we take and the words we speak are often not our own, and nor do they serve our highest calling in life. Puppets of the machine, we've allowed our souls to be colonized, and our minds and hearts have become deeply entangled in the broader socio-industrial complex of the early 21st century. We lead lives increasingly controlled by a host of external power brokers, media outlets, tech giants and social media platforms, bloggers, political parties, online mobs, ideological movements, corporations, educational institutions, and religious groups. Our desires, goals, and even our beliefs are no longer our own. The I-topian machine drives them. Many of us, and perhaps especially the young, feel powerless to make actual changes in the world, instead venting rage from behind keyboards. Alternatively, some express their anger in protests or acts of violence played out on city streets, or in the tearing down of icons, monuments, and government buildings. Yet, even as they do so, they're often being recruited by agents who are in turn deeply embedded within the very systems which they seek to escape. They are again captured by the machine, realizing too late what they have become, if they realize at all. Amidst all this, we're foundering upon the collapse of sense-making, the digitization and politicization of everything, systematically retarding our ability to understand the world and our relationship with it. We've lost touch with our inner knowing, set adrift upon a vast ocean of competing narratives and agendas. Which captains are we to believe? Which shores are we to seek? And which winds are we to reset sail upon? These are questions that lie at the heart of this course. There are scientists and researchers who have recently argued the case for great progress in modern societies. A few notable examples include Steven Pinker, Peter H. Diamandis, and Marian L. Tupy. These techno-optimists point out worldwide historical trends that are indeed positive and represent developments for which we should be grateful. These include far fewer people dying in warfare, a huge reduction in absolute poverty over the last 30 years, greatly improved global literacy rates, including women's, and the decline in global infant mortality rate from around 50% to almost zero in the past 2 centuries. Yet, even as science and technology have greatly improved our material lives, that same technology has diminished our sense of community and personal connection. It's clear that technological enhancement, increased physical comfort, and material well-being aren't going to solve the existential crisis we face. We should all be grateful for this great progress, but it's insufficient in itself. Humans cannot live by bread alone, nor ChatGPT alone. Technology, the very thing that has liberated us from so many of the terrors and limitations of the physical world and the body, is also taking us further apart from our families and communities and separating us from our bodies. We're becoming less physically and emotionally present. Further, we're losing contact with the ways of knowing and the tools that once enabled us to make sense of the meaning of our lives and connect us to the subtle experience of the sacred and spiritual. It's perhaps notable that the father of evolutionary theory, Charles Darwin, had one deep regret in his long life. In his autobiography, written in the 1880s, he wrote, and I quote, "My mind has changed during the last 20 or 30 years. Now, for many years, I cannot endure to read a line of poetry. I've also almost lost any taste for pictures or music. My mind seems to have become a kind of machine for grinding general laws out of large collections of facts. If I had to live my life again, I would have made a rule to read some poetry and listen to some music at least once every week. The loss of these tastes is a loss of happiness and may possibly be injurious to the intellect, and more probably to the moral character, by enfeebling the emotional part of our nature." In a sense, Darwin's mind represents that of most modern humans. He didn't even have to learn to code or grapple with his X feed. We've been losing touch with something more important for longer than many realize. We can also note that as formal religion has declined in many economically developed countries, a meaning vacuum has emerged. Many of us don't know what to make of our lives. What is the point of it all? As philosopher and educator Stephen Blackwood has noted, we humans are meaning makers, and we make sense of the world and our place in it by referencing higher order organizational principles and our relationship with them. This is the realm of the good, the beautiful, and the spiritual. Yet, meaning, along with beauty and poetry, are often ignored or downplayed by techno-optimists. Plenty of data supports the idea that mass amusement and materialism don't feed the soul. Recent years have seen significant increases in anxiety and depression worldwide and in the US, especially amongst the young. Around 700,000 people worldwide commit suicide annually, accounting for 1.3% of all deaths. In the USA, the world's biggest economy, the suicide rate has increased by 35% in the years from 1999 to 2018, with men nearly 4 times as likely to kill themselves. Stephen Blackwood suggests that increasing porn and dopamine addiction may be linked to the pervasive presence of technology. Troubled times lead people to question the meaning of their lives. If we cast an eye across our unstable horizons, we cannot help but notice the rise of a wide range of quasi-religious movements, seemingly acting as a substitute for that lack of meaning. Wokeism, Trumpism, fanatical environmentalism, nationalism, the Extinction Rebellion, New Ageism, endless conspiracy cultures, Antifa, QAnon, the alt-right, and so on. Numerous current media outlets, thinkers, and analysts have expressed concerns. We know there's a problem, but what do we do about it? I believe there is a way to begin to reclaim our power and to start making good sense of the world again. That is, by returning our awareness to the innate wisdom within ourselves. The journey of awakening for many ancient traditions was an inner one, grounded in an enhanced awareness of the deep self and the intimate connection of the mind and spirit, which in turn embeds us in an expanded wisdom and intelligence. In this course, I will show you how you can begin to nourish and expand that intelligence through the 5 pillars of the deep self. You will thus find precise tools and practices in each session. Mindful practice, persistence, and self-belief are essential to mastery of the deep self in the digital age. There are 5 pillars of the deep self, which you'll find me referring to throughout this course. The first pillar is embodied presence, the capacity to bring the mind into the right relationship with the present moment. The second is mental and emotional responsibility, the capacity to witness the mind and the world and to assume responsibility for what arises within us. The third is integrated intelligence, the ability to draw upon the extended mind in helping to solve problems, big and small. The fourth is mastery of the system, understanding how to thrive in 21st century societies. This entails developing digital wisdom, how today's sense-making systems function. Media, social media, big tech, politics, education, human physiology, and so on. And especially how these can overpower our attention and mental space. The fifth and final pillar emerges from the first 4, the wise actions we take in the world inspired by the deep self. The concept of wise action is key here, whereby we can create ideal futures by initiating actions taken while listening to our innate wisdom. I believe that the 5 pillars of the deep self can empower you to transcend the civilizational impasse that we now all find ourselves confronting. This course is designed to help you rise above the fracturing of yourself with a big S and your society. It invites you to bring greater embodied presence into your personal life, family life, work, creativity, and play. My one big idea is that we, the lost humans of the digital age, can reclaim our embodied presence and learn to stand in the power of the deep self. We can reclaim our minds from the mimetic reality in which they've become embedded, and then learn to truly live meaningful lives that are our potentiality. We will begin by first exploring your deep self in session 1. See you there soon.